Hello there, Commonwealth from. The Switch has officially been out for 6 years, so let's go over the top 10 Nintendo Switch games that have been announced and are still yet to be released on the system. And good news, we're going fast over why you should care about 10 to 5 in no particular order before diving deeper into 4 to 1. So press the like and subscribe buttons to get us to 333,333 subscribers for a big Zelda and Switch OLED giveaway by May 12th. Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection, April 14th. A very fitting entry to start with, as it has exactly 10 games in one package and one price. Not only that, probably the most underrated set of Mega Man games filled with puzzles and battles. April is a month of few releases, so why not take the time while we wait for the next big releases to replay some classics. It may not be for everyone, but this series got so many games for a reason, and it's getting a proper legacy collection to let even more people discover the brilliance of these games. Hogwarts Legacy, July 25th. 83, 84, and even 90 out of 100, and a comparable user score on Metacritic for a movie licensed game. This simply doesn't happen. But then again, Hogwarts Legacy is no other movie licensed game, as we, but also my hairstylist, cannot wait for the Switch release on July 25th. Naturally, we would have preferred to have this open world RPG and the Harry Potter universe on the same date as other systems, so February 7th, and wish that the author of the series was a less awful person. What we hope for is that the Switch port of the game is a competent one. But because of this, and the controversy, it is lower on our list despite the quality that the game represents. It is a precaution and a sign that we hope that Warner Bros. Games and Avalanche Software proves us wrong and we get a game that runs at around 30 frames per second and in stable 720p. Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, April 21st. A Nintendo franchise in dire need of our support. But sometimes a release is out of our hands. At least it was up to this point, even in the case of the developers and Nintendos, as the last year proved. But after being cursed by technical and then real-life delay, the last hope for Advance Wars is finally here. 1+2 Reboot Camp, a remake of the first 2 games in the series. And yes, some of the plot has some similarities to real-life events. But at the end of the day, this is a video game, and one that seems to revive the franchise as we want it. If we don't buy this, then there will be no new Advance Wars in the future. So if the game delivers in its quality, and you enjoy modern turn-based skirmishes in video games, then we should pay with our wallets and show that this series deserves to have a future. Another Crab's Treasure 2023. Our first indie on the list. But Another Crab's Treasure is a very ambitious kind of indie. A 3D action-adventure Souls-like, sorry for that, Shells-like, as the developers like to market this title. It looks really fluid and with lots of variety, both in terms of weaponry, but also whatever you take as your shell at any given point in the game. The gameplay, premise, boss fights and blend of horizontal and vertical gameplay looks to be something that we can all greatly enjoy when the game finally comes out. Teased in 2022, we're waiting to see more this year, which is supposed to be its release year. I for one hope it comes in the second half, as I really think it can benefit from releasing in this time. Bayonetta Origins Cereza and the Lost Demon, March 17th. Bayonetta has never been in a better position, even though most argue that 2 is better than 3 in this franchise. But that is all now history. This is a completely different Bayonetta experience. Cereza and the Lost Demon is here to show how the Umbra Witch became the icon that we all know and love. The gameplay and perspective may be different, but what we have seen so far looks promising, as it feels like the top-down version of Bayonetta, with a unique art style which is adorable. Something I never thought I would be saying about the action hack-and-slash R-rated Bayonetta. Bomb Rush Cyberpunk 2023. The spiritual revival of Jet Set Radio got delayed out of 2022. Where have we heard that again? A number of times on this list, but this is a game with real promise and a game that I really can't wait to play. The style with its gritty visuals and outlaw street style is truly an indie title that doesn't feel like an indie title. Developer Team Reptile convinced us all with their first trailer and gameplay. Parkour! And rail shredded, all to build combos and high scores but also progress through the story mode. Please come out in the second half of the year, as we really need a cool title like this. And now, let's dive deeper into the final games, starting with number 4, Pikmin 3. Coming out Friday, July 21st, so pretty much exactly 10 years after Pikmin 3. Though after the February Nintendo Direct and footage that we got, it has become clear that the wait will pay off. Yes, we still have very little gameplay, and this garden adventure in space will struggle to get 5 million copies. And also can forget about the top 10 best-selling Switch game spot, as, well, you need 15 million copies sold at this point to get there. But it's the first brand new game by Shigeru Miyamoto since 2016, and his passion for the Pikmin franchise is truly admirable. He could have given up on it, just like F-Zero, but despite not the best sales for the series, it looks like Pikmin 4 might break the sales curse that Pikmin 3's Switch Deluxe version has already made solid cracks in. I'll be honest, this franchise has not been my cup of tea, but I'm willing to give it another chance with this fluffy, powerful, handy and adorable doggo named Oachi, unless a certain different game is so big that we cannot finish it by that time. Joking aside, I'm really curious to experience the end product of what series creator Shigeru Miyamoto first teased to be very close to completion in 2015. Almost 8 years ago. Now at least we don't have to wait for it longer than late July. No doubt, the big summer release with Tears of the Kingdom as the big spring release, and Fire Emblem Engage already serving as the big brand new winter release. And I'm glad that we're not waiting for long, as I couldn't have tolerated another long wait for a Nintendo IP following the numerous delays and restarts for some of the games on this list. But back to Pikmin 4, which looks stunning for being a Nintendo Switch game. The new third-person perspective is a massive positive move, and who knows, perhaps I'm wrong for not placing Pikmin 4 on the podium. Well, we will see come release day, as I'm ready to immerse myself and play from the Pikmin's perspective. There are also plenty of other new features to love, but then again, it has been 10 years since the last quest, so that was expected. In the end, the podium was reserved for long anticipated, and then I mean revealed in the previous decade action titles, and we're starting off with none other than a game that we're still waiting for the release date of. Number 3, Hollow Knight Silksong, probably 2023. Here we are again. Last time in September we simply forgot that you exist. But now we have to be ready to say that we will be shocked if this game is not out by the end of December. After all, Silksong was revealed before Tears of the Kingdom in 2019, and since then we have received one trailer at the Microsoft Bethesda conference in 2022, a signal that the game was less than 12 months away. Well, we're getting close to that point, and still, we are pretty much in the dark. Hopefully, very soon we'll get a Switch trailer, but I'm going to be completely honest, I think this game will blow us away when it first drops. The original Hollow Knight was incredible, and Team Cherry has shown throughout the limited but at the same time packed marketing a lot of promise. Of a massive array of new enemies, gameplay, plenty of hazards, and skills that will make this game stand out completely from the over 6-year-old Hollow Knight. There's just so much to be hyped for in this title, but the long gaps between news is this game's biggest detriment. Luckily for all of us, this is an indie, so the longing for the title isn't as strong as what is the case for the final titles on our list. Number 2, Metroid Prime 4, release unknown. Metroid Prime 4 will be amazing. Both Metroid Dread and now Metroid Prime Remastered made that even more clear. So much so that the latter game came out before we had a chance to include it on this list. But as they say, that was the appetizer, while Metroid Prime 4 is the main course. That is unless Prime 2 and 3 are first in the line to get their remasters, which visually look far more like remakes. Replaying the first Prime made it even clear that we all cannot wait for return of Psylocke, the Metroids, and naturally Samus, the Hunter, in the latest installment in the Prime series and timeline. Sadly for all of us, Prime 4 is at this point the only game on this list still waiting for an actual trailer. But what keeps it this high up is simply that Metroid has never been better than it is right now. Metroid Prime Remastered's performance and visual upgrades are stunning, and if this is what we can expect from Metroid Prime 4, then absolutely, well, we already signed up back in 2017. The Metroid release we have gotten for this year is more than satisfying, but truth to be told, next year, 2024, should be it, as we know that Prime 4 had a turbulent path, and Retro is naturally taking their time to deliver the game that they and Nintendo want. Not open world, but rather an experience that is on the level of the first Prime, so an amazing first-person adventure that is perhaps going even further beyond than Prime did. A proper one-planet exploration with the gameplay and visuals that we expect. At the same time, we don't say no to being able to play the full story with Prime 2 and 3 added first, since having all the best-looking Metroid games on the Switch would just be perfection. At the same time, we do realize that Metroid Prime 4 could easily end up both on the Switch and a successor system, as we're getting dangerously close to 7 years from reveal to release of this game. That is unless they can surprise us this year. Number 1, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, coming out Friday, May 12th this year. It has been 6 years since Breath of the Wild's release, and this is the last time this game is on an upcoming games list, as the next list Tears of the Kingdom will be on this channel with Nintendo Switch in the title is top 10 games of all time, or any other top 10 video with games available right now. This title is literally the best of Zelda's present, blended with the best of its past. And then we mean what was lacking in Breath of the Wild. At least we hope, as 6 years builds expectations. The story and lore seems to be deeper and darker as it is set in the present. The gameplay refined, including vehicle building and what seems to be crafting, and the altered open world expanded with 2 additional vertical layers. The scale of both the sky and the underground appears to be just as ambitious as the surface, and with a voiced Ganondorf we know we're in for a treat, as he brings back a number of iconic Zelda enemies, along with some brand new ones for this title. Mainly, Reedets, Kargaroks and Gleeok are back, along with new Bokoblin chief Boss Bokoblin. A hazardous non-linear adventure awaits, filled with potentially over 100 floating islands and tons of interactions and ties to the mysterious Zonai tribe that was the biggest tease in Breath of the Wild. Yes, there have been leaks, and we don't cover them, but we can also confirm that they show that Tears of the Kingdom is as big as we hope it is. Speaking of, no other Nintendo game can show so little over nearly 4 years and get away with it. But this is Zelda, with the final title and release date, collector's edition and amiibo ordered, plus potential first Zelda Switch bundle and plenty of other merchandise and, well, likely DLC, it is all clear that by all indications, the last new 3D Zelda on the Nintendo Switch is aiming for one thing: crushing Breath of the Wild, including on its own surface, with combinations, alterations, new features, and the list goes on and on. As the description for the game goes, this is our adventure to make. At the same time, a little over 5 minutes of total footage less than 70 days before the release with no actual gameplay is little to nothing to go off. Yes, we're still to see the first HUD of the game, but this 20th Zelda is no matter what our most anticipated game, period. Mainly because of how important it is for Zelda and Nintendo, and is the only game on this list that can win Game of the Year at this year's Game Awards. That is unless Prime 4 also comes out this year. We have several videos detailing this game just from the week prior to this upload, so go and check them out after this one, since otherwise we would be gushing over the 20th Zelda until almost its release. Not even a $70 price tag for the game and scalping of its collector's edition and any other bundles that will surface can ruin this hype train about to reach its final destination. May 12th will be legendary, and with no Nintendo at E3 this year, it is clear that everything depends on this release. But then again, it is nearly 17 years since the previous new Zelda with Ganondorf in it, and for the first time he is voiced along with many other new and returning characters. The first adventure since Zelda 2 on the NES set once again in the same Hyrule and with the same Link, but this time also the same Zelda, not long after the previous adventure. And that is the selection of our top 10 upcoming games still to be released on the Nintendo Switch before a potential Summer Direct. Do you have some other inclusions? Then write them down in the comment section below. If you haven't already, then be sure to leave a like, subscribe and press the notification bell, and last but definitely not least, a big thanks goes to you for watching until the end, and to all our patreon.com/Cameron patrons, and in particular, our raw producer Charles Shash. You rock as the Switch has turned 6 years old, and please enjoy one or both of these 2 awesome videos.